And Brandon, let's move on. We are continuing in our next two. We really just have new coaches. Like we talked about one new coach. This one we're going to talk about another new coach. Is Arizona hiring a new head coach. However, he may be, I'm not going to say he's the most experienced because Chip Kelly could probably be giving him a run for his money on that. But Kevin Sumlin coming over from Texas A&M. He's going to be the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats. So the first question I'm going to ask you, just plain and simple, what can we expect from a Kevin Sumlin Arizona team in 2018?
8 wins, 5 losses, baby. That's what Kevin Sumlin does. 8-5. Gliding right through. No, I'm kidding. But what you're going to expect is...
What are you? That's the question.
Khalil Tate last year, this guy was doing it all. He was doing it all. He was running the ball 15 times a game, and this is your quarterback. But with a Kevin Sumlin offense, it's going to be much more even.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be much more balanced is a better word for it. That's what you're going to see. And Kevin Sumlin's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer. I don't know about that. But there is a lot to like about Khalil Tate. And Arizona is looking for him probably to be the first all Pac-12 first-team quarterback since Arizona joined the league in 1978. That's how good this guy is. And he did it all last year. I think he accounted for 26 total touchdowns. He is very talented, and Kevin Sumlin will certainly find a way to use all of his talents, running the football, throwing the football, but you're probably going to see him throw the football a little bit more this year. You're probably going to see those numbers tick up a little bit and his running numbers tick down a little bit. That's at least what I would be looking for if I had to go with what I've seen kind of from Kevin Sumlin. But you're going to see a much more balanced attack. And what's going to be nice is you have a pretty solid offensive line with 4 returning starters.
Well, and Khalil Tate's the guy that I'm looking at first and foremost on this offense, because to me, I'm not going to say he was going to win the Heisman last year, but probably should have been in the Heisman voting. The only reason wasn't in the Heisman voting is the same reason why when I asked Brandon, oh my God, did you see that Pac-12 game? And Brandon said, no, it's because you go to bed. It's because you go to bed too early. Because those voters on the East Coast, they go to bed way before the game even starts.
It's because I either go to bed or I go to the bar, and that leads to me going to bed. So it's just not going to happen. And when you're in the bar and and they've got a Pac-12 game on, you're looking at it.
You're not focusing on it.
And then the next day you go, It's like reading a book for school. You'll look at it, but you don't really read the words.
No one ever reads a book for school. And if they are reading a book for school, they're lying about reading a book for school. No one read a book for school. No one's ever read a book for school.
No.
You read the Cliff Notes for school. That's what you do. You read those Cliff Notes. But no, Khalil Tate's the guy that I'm looking at. He's going to make, even though it might be more balanced under Kevin Sumlin, he's going to make this offense and this team go. Like, Kevin Sumlin, to me, I feel like this 2017 year should be just the year of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And when your team leads the Pac-12 in scoring and total offense, don't fix it. It ain't broke. You don't need to touch anything. You don't need to mess with anything, tinker everything too seriously. You have guys, like, they've got a quarterback this year who, if plays right, could be a Heisman candidate in some people's minds if voters stay up late enough to watch Pac-12 games. They also have talented receivers on this team. A couple of sophomore tight ends in Bryce Wooma and Jamie Nunley. They also have receivers in Sean Brown, who's going to be great in the slot. They also have guys like Sean Poindexter, who's going to be a senior on this team. He should be the go-to target for Khalil Tate. This is a team that is going to have the quarterback, the wide receivers, and like you said I think it was Utah was the preview that you said this for, much like them, Arizona bringing back 4 of their 5 offensive linemen from last year. So this offense should be pretty good to go, where Kevin Sumlin doesn't have to make any sweeping changes his first year, and this team could be at the top of the Pac-12 again in 2018.
They could, but one thing that could be holding them back, last year they ranked 10th on defense in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
That really hurt them. They return 9 starters, so that is going to be very helpful. But, again, 10th last season, the defense, if anything, on this team is going to hold them back, it is definitely going to be the defensive side of the football.
Do you think Kevin Sumlin can turn it around, though?
See, that's what I'm not...
Or is he more of an offensive guy, you think?
That's what I'm not sure, is because you look at what he you look at his time at Texas A&M. He definitely seemed like more of an offensive guy. And I think you have to look no further than that UCLA Texas A&M game that started off last season, and it looked like didn't it look like Texas A&M had it in the bag?
And he's had it in the bag until Josh Rosen came back.
Bag until the defense just broke, and then from that point forward, it was just kind of like Kevin Sumlin. I think I said Kevin Sumlin should be fired like week 2 or 3. Like, it was something stupid. But
dude, every single week we were talking, like every single year around the same time, if you look back on our channel, Kevin Sumlin firing topic. Like, it was just
at least 3 times.
It was a yearly thing of, well, it's that time of the year. Ricky and Brandon are going to talk about Kevin Sumlin getting fired. Like, it was just, well, it's that time of the year. Let's see what Ricky and Brandon have to say a year later on the topic, because it looked like he was never going to get fired from Texas A&M.
So, to go to that point again, I think that he's been more of an offensive guy. Yeah. So, for him to pull this team up from where they were at 10th, the position of 10th, in the Pac-12 last season in total defense, I don't see a dramatic change. If they could bounce themselves from 10 to 8, 10 to 7, that would be a nice change for them. But I don't see a significant change of positioning there under new coach Kevin Sumlin.
So just for a little bit of a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, reference point, September 7th, we posted a video of, this was after that loss. Will Kevin Sumlin survive UCLA comeback loss? About, I don't know, 6 months prior, June 2nd, will Texas A&M fire Kevin Sumlin? A month before that, we talked about him in coaching hot seats for 2017. The year before, which coaches need a fast start to avoid being on the hot seat. Talked about Kevin Sumlin again. May of 2016, we said, will Texas A&M fire Kevin Sumlin
were curious.
The 2016 season? Like, it was one of those things where we constantly looked at his firing, but the thing that I think will make the Arizona transition for him easier is the schedule. We talked about Utah's schedule, and you said it was very difficult. Well, you know how I said Utah didn't have Oregon State, didn't have Cal? Well, Arizona does. You want to know what teams Arizona doesn't have on its schedule? Washington and Stanford. That alone, like, I could see the schedule. I could see them going undefeated in the non-conference with at Houston being the only question mark, depending on what we see from Houston this year in the second year post Tom Herman. I could see them going 3-0 in non-conference, maybe 2-1 at worst. Then a win against Oregon State, a win against Cal. That moves you up to 5 right away. I think they can beat Colorado. They can beat Oregon. That puts you, 7 wins right there? Then it just depends on what do you do against former first-year head coach, first year at UCLA, Chip Kelly. What do you do with with Herm Edwards, with his first year at Arizona State? What do you do with Washington State? What do you do with Utah? USC, I think that's going to be a loss. They're not going to win that one. But what do you do with those other ones? I see 7 wins, 1 loss. And then just the rest of the games are, what do you do in those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, 1, 2, 3, 4 games left that I haven't put as wins or losses.
So I just want to go really quickly talking about the defense again.
Go ahead.
Going back to what the Aggies did last season under Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah.
In the loss to UCLA, they gave up 45 points. In the win against Arkansas in overtime, they gave up 43 points. They scored 50. They gave up 43. The loss to Alabama, they gave up 27. The loss to Mississippi State, 35. Loss to Auburn, 42. The loss to LSU, 45. The loss to Wake Forest in their bowl game, 55. That defense was not good. That defense was not good. I mean, you look at Nichols and Louisiana. They gave up 14 points and 21 points. Well, they won those games pretty darn easily. South Carolina, they gave up 17. They won. Florida, they gave up 17. They won. New Mexico, they gave up 14 and won. And Ole Miss, they gave up 24 and won. But in the games they lost, truly the games they lost, they gave up tons and tons of points. And that's under a Kevin Sumlin defense. So I guess I don't expect, and I know that's with a completely different team in a completely different conference.
You know what's funny? I know it's a different coach, but just in the Pac-12 alone, here is the point totals that Arizona gave up. 30 to Utah, loss. 42 to Colorado, win. 30 to UCLA, win. 44 to Cal, they won in double overtime. They gave up 37 to Washington State. They gave up 49 to Sam Darnold and the Trojans. They gave up 28, the lowest that they have given up in the conference, to the Oregon State Beavers. The Oregon Ducks put 48 on them. Arizona State put 42 on them. They ended the year against Purdue. Purdue put 38 on them. Their non-conference before that, 24, 19, 16. So you look at the Pac-12 numbers for sure. Them and Kevin Sumlin's defensive, like just the scoring totals, they're not that far off from each other. The only question is, does that mean your offense, can this Kevin Sumlin offense then outscore the teams in the Pac-12?
And that's where you almost have to wonder. So Tate had a really an outstanding season last year. Do people have to be nervous? Do you have to be weary of how he'll be under Kevin Sumlin? Because will people look at it as Kevin Sumlin is limiting him. He's not allowing him to do as much as he'd like to do and as much as he's capable of, because Sumlin wants him to be more balanced and throw a little bit more and not run as much. Do you think that could be a hindrance to how Tate could play under Kevin Sumlin?
Good head coaches don't change. The way I've always seen it is good head coaches don't try to change the player. They change the system around the player. Where if you've got a player with a certain, like Liam Neeson style, if he's got a certain set of skills, you put him in situations that are going to use those certain set of skills. You don't try to take the square peg and fit it into that round hole. You try to take that square peg, carve that round hole, carve it into a square hole, and then get it to fit. That's what I think Kevin Sumlin is going to have to do this year with Khalil Tate, because it's not like Khalil Tate's one of these, like, it's not like UCLA where it's like, well, if you go with a guy with experience, you got Wilton Speight, which whoop-de-doo, Michigan's sitting there going, freaking take him. We don't want him. We're glad we got Shea Patterson this year. Get Wilton Speight out of here. That's what Wilton Speight is. Where Arizona has a guy in Khalil Tate, where I'm going to say the word again in association with his name, Heisman. That's how good he could be. Heisman voting is where he could be this season. So, I mean, that's why with Kevin Sumlin, he's got to fit the system around Khalil Tate, not vice versa, if he's going to be successful this year with the Wildcats.
And here's one of the reasons why I worry about Khalil Tate under Kevin Sumlin. Because Kevin Sumlin is supposed to be, again, like I said, this quarterback whisperer and really good with the quarterbacks. But look, Ricky, you and I have talked about it, and I just was kind of going through and looking at all the quarterbacks under Kevin Sumlin while at Texas A&M. He's got like 5 or 6 of them, and the only true good one was Johnny Manziel. That's it.
Wasn't that his only true mobile quarterback, though? That's the thing I was going to look at, is the thing that, because Tate can do it with his arm and his legs. So if I'm Kevin Sumlin, I go back to that Johnny Manziel stuff, and I go, hey, now Khalil Tate's not the same as Manziel, where Manziel just had it to where if a play broke down, he's going to Russell Wilson it and scramble around and extend the play and do these like great moves where we're going, holy crap, how did he do that? And then he's just going to sling it. Like, Khalil Tate's not going to be that extreme to Johnny Manziel, but they do have a similar skill set. So to me, if I'm Kevin Sumlin, hey, I've dealt with a quarterback like this before. Let me go ahead and fit that system to him so that we can be successful. Hey, who knows? Johnny Manziel, when Kevin Sumlin and Johnny Manziel were combined at the hip, probably the best year that Kevin Sumlin had as the Aggies head coach. So why can't he do the same thing again with Khalil Tate, who could be a little bit better than Manziel overall, and maybe do some great things for Arizona this year?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. Khalil Tate is just going to have to, I think, kind of push through all of that and everything that may be happening. I remember so vividly what Kevin Sumlin, how it was for Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M, and how he had a pair of 5-star quarterbacks leave Texas A&M because there wasn't good communication there at the school, and that kind of started the downfall for Kevin Sumlin. And then, I mean, it was rotating quarterbacks. He had, who did he have? Trevor Knight. He had
Kyle Allen,
Kellen Mond.
Starkle.
Nick Starkle. It's just like
Jake Hubernack, I think, was on that team.
That was a revolving door. Terrible sound, by the way, but it was. That's what
Kyler Murray.
Oh yes, that's what worries me is because of the fact that you don't want to see. If you're a Zona fan, you do not want to see your team struggle and your quarterback possibly struggle because the clamps are being put down on him.
Yeah.
Because he needs to be more balanced. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that what he did last year is probably not what you're going to see this year. At least in terms of all the yardage and stuff that he was able to put up. Like I said, I think he'll be a tick more in the passing and a tick down in the rushing, at least in the yards. The scores will still possibly can be there.
And the thing I did look up was Johnny Manziel was not a guy that Kevin Sumlin inherited. He was a guy that signed. Well, you know what? I can't remember that far. Maybe Texas A&M fans can help figure this out, but Johnny Manziel signed with the Aggies on February 2nd, signing day of 2011. I don't think he was a previous signing and then Sumlin was hired as head coach. I'm pretty sure he was brought in with Sumlin already being hired as the head coach, where this is Tate already being there. A little pop quiz for you.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
I'm really good at these.
2011, the year before Kevin Sumlin came in to Texas A&M, there was a guy at Texas A&M playing quarterback who threw for over 3,700 yards and 29 touchdowns. He is currently in the NFL, an AFC starting quarterback. Do you know that quarterback?
No,
he's in the AFC. His team plays in the Southeast. Plays in the state of Florida. They just got a new running back and Frank Gore to try out.
I was just going to say Ryan Tannehill.
Ryan Tannehill.
I would say Ryan Tannehill did not sound right, but
Ryan Tannehill. He was the starting quarterback. Other name,
and as usual, Ricky makes me fail my pop quiz.
You know who else was on that Texas A&M team that you might remember or you'll know their name for sure? He was their second leading running back behind Cyrus Gray. Christine Michael was on that team.
Yes. Yeah.
Christine Michael was on that team along with Ryan Swoop, who had 7 catches for 3 yards that year.
7 catches for 3 yards?
He was their least yard getter for the receivers. But going back to Arizona, last thing I want to mention is the schedule, because to me, I feel like this is on the opposite side of the Utah preview, where I look at this schedule and I see easy compared to difficult, mainly because you don't have to play Stanford, you don't have to play Washington, you get Cal, you get Oregon State. Oregon fans are going to get mad at me because I said that, Arizona can probably win that game, but let's be honest, Kevin Sumlin's here, not Rich Rod, even though Rich Rod did better with Arizona compared to his time at Michigan. I already said it. I see 7 for sure wins, 1 for sure loss. The other 4 are toss-ups to me. What do you see from this Arizona schedule? Because you have yet to tell me what you see.
Yeah, I have not said anything. Well, in their first 4 games, I think that those first 4 could be wins. I see them probably losing to USC, beating Cal, losing on the road to Utah. I'm going to say close game at UCLA, but they get the win. They beat Oregon, Colorado, lose on the road at Washington State, and then beat ASU. So what does that bring them to? What did I say? So 4-1. 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 7-2, 8-2, 8-3, 9-3.
So close. So close to that 8-4, so then he can go 8-5 after losing his bowl game. Just so close, Brandon. That's what you know what, change those to a loss so they go 8-4, and then he can lose the bowl game and go 8-5. But I think this could be a very successful year for Arizona. And I wouldn't be surprised if out of the teams with new head coaches, they're the ones that because I feel like to win the South this year, the order goes USC, we haven't talked about them yet, but I think even though they have a decision to make a quarterback, they're still the favorite to win this division. Then it's Utah, because they have so much returning. They have their coach returning. Then it's Arizona. They have so much returning. The only question is they have a new head coach this year, but he's an experienced head coach. And I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if out of like the UCLAs, the Arizona States, the Arizona, if Arizona was the one out of those 3 to make the jump, be successful, finish like they did last year, 3rd or higher, in the Pac-12 South because of the talent they have on their roster. Before we move on, though, into Arizona State, which is our next team, Brandon, final thoughts on what you see from the Wildcats in 2018.
I think that Arizona is going to be an improved team. I think they will be better under Kevin Sumlin. I think that they are lacking at depth at a number of positions, which could definitely hurt them, especially with injuries, if and when they happen. And I think that defensively they need to be able to get better, but it's how big of a leap do they make to get better this season. But again, I think it's because they don't have that hard of a schedule that they can still they don't have to dramatically get better. They just need to be able to beat some of these teams that also haven't dramatically gotten better. So that's where the schedule comes in and is actually a big friend of the Arizona Wildcats.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below about the Arizona Wildcats. What are you expecting from Kevin Sumlin in his first year? Is this a team that could maybe make the jump and win the Pac-12 South next year? Let us know what you're thinking down below in that comment section.